Let's go, Victoria.
Yay! Okay, hi everyone. I'm so excited to talk to you about AthenaDAO today and how we're transforming women's health research, education, and funding. So, Maya, if you can go to the next slide. So specifically, we're going to talk about bridging women's health research, Web3, and data. But first, I'll introduce myself. So next slide. So my name is Victoria. I've been with AthenaDAO for essentially since the beginning, at its conception in August of 2022. I started as an intern helping out with a few of the menial tasks, and now I do a lot of the operations and communications. I've come from a science background. I am still an undergraduate student. But I am going to law school next year because I've been so inspired by the work we do with IP for women's health. I now want to make this like something I do full term. And so basically, I'm just working at the intersection of women's health and Web3 and trying to communicate this. And that's what I do as part of CORE. But that is enough about me. Let's move to the next slide. Let's talk about Athena.
Sorry, Victoria?
Yes.
Can I ask you just to slow down a little bit because I need to switch out the slides Japanese translation. Sorry. Thank you.
No worries, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, who is AthenaDAO? We are the leading decentralized community-driven platform that enables translational women's health research, education, and funding. So this is a pipeline starting from the R&D itself. We want to aim to fund this, inform women of their options, things like this, and eventually have this lead through clinical data, through investments, to creating therapeutics, and eventually leading to having new treatments and options for women, which is super important to us, and that is the goal. So next slide. So the thing with women's health is that it is a massive opportunity, but it is also a missed opportunity. So when we look at popular reports, the one I have on the screen here is by Fortune. We have companies claiming things like, for example, menopause is a $600 billion opportunity. There are other reports that talk about the opportunity costs from women's health being impacted in terms of working hours, and they allude to that as $1 trillion opportunity. And so we see that there is a lot of money in the space, yet when we look at how the funding actually translates, we see that this is not the case. And so the graph on the right is showing startup funding. This is for longevity startups in 2021 by Healthspan Capital. And we see that pets are getting more funding than all of reproductive longevity. And I love dogs as much as the next person, but that is a little ridiculous that 50% of the population is not being accounted for here. And so why is this? Next slide. So the problem is that the biggest consumer market, women, in the world is stuck in a negative cycle. So women's health historically has been a massive blind spot in biopharma. When we've looked at women before, they were kind of just seen as little men. And we now know that that is not the case. But that doesn't mean that research hasn't been restricted because of this. And so looking at research historically, women were only included in clinical trials in 1993, so not even for the last 50 years, it's been less than that. And the funding for women's health is also limited. So looking at the NIH in 2022, only essentially slightly less than 10% of their budget was spent on women-specific conditions. And once again, we're looking at 50% of the population only being introduced like around 30 years ago. It's super insane. And if we look at the market gap for this as well, looking at biopharma R&D, only 1% of like industry-specific funding goes to female-specific innovations. And so we see this massive opportunity here with women's health, and we see that it's just still stuck in this blind spot for whatever reason, and this obviously needs to be overcome. And so this is where AthenaDAO was trying to come in. So next slide. So we are the only organization of our kind at this point in time to fund, govern, incubate, and support early stage translational research in women's health. And so we do this through a unique model, which I'll get into in a second. But the whole point is that we are using novel funding mechanisms because clearly the status quo is not working, with incentives that benefit women to eventually source, fund, and incubate academic and industry R&D in women's health. So trying to get more funding into the ecosystem, but also more awareness and getting women more engaged with their own health. Next slide. So we are doing this through an emerging model called the DeSci-DAO model. And so essentially what is known about this is that typically when we have funding, it's a top-down approach. So a VC or someone, they have the funding means and it'll be spread downwards. But with a DAO, you're looking at bottom up and it's very community driven. And so these are good models in which to engage the community to work collaboratively together to drive value and innovation to these traditionally overlooked areas of research like women's health. And they're really just a way to center communities around a mission. And we know it is so powerful when people get together and work towards things that they are passionate about. And so this model is very advantageous for actually having a community engaged around women's health to help advance the cause area. And so that is what we are working in. We are using the bottom-up approach to fund women's health R&D, and it's super exciting. So next slide. So as a result of this, we're lucky to work with an insane global network. So we just have a few of the people featured here. Dr. Joshua Johnson, he's actually our second funded researcher, and he was just featured in Time magazine for his work on menopause, which is very exciting. Dr. Zhangwei Huang is the leader of the ARC-RLE in Asia, which is like the Massive Reproductive Longevity Institute. And he's doing a lot of transformative work in that space in the Asian ecosystem. We have Lene Brayboy, who's very close to us. She used to work at Clue and was the CMO there, which is like the most well-known women's health consumer company. And now she's running her own new company called Ovum Care, and they're very interesting. And we have Dr. Arash Rafi Tabrizi. He's a professor at Weill Cornell, and he's been very helpful with to us working on a lot of different things. And we have support from a variety of different institutes. And this helps us advance our cause. And it's great that we're able to connect with these people as a result of the work that we've been doing. Next slide. So AthenaDAO, since August 2022, we've been really fortunate in that we've been able to fund a lot of our research because we have so much IP. In women's health, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. And so as a result, we've received over 320 scientific projects that have been reviewed from insane and very prestigious institutions like Oxford, NUS, from Cornell, Stanford. And this is because like a lot of the time in women's health, researchers just want funding. And so we're able to sit on a lot of this IP, and more of the problem is actually getting funding ourselves to finance these projects because there's just so much opportunity. But we have funded almost $1 million in deal flow assets, and this is like 70% of our treasury has gone to funding these assets, and so this is like our priority. Outside of this, like the research cohorts that we funded in have been in ovarian longevity, PCOS and endometriosis, gynecologic cancers, and reprotech. Right now, we're running a call for submissions in wearables, which will be made more announcements about soon. We've also ran several consumer biotech experiences, including an in-person pop-up, our Fertility 101 course, and we've published reproductive health reports with every research cohort in order to ensure that women are aware of their potential conditions that they may have, what is going on in women's health, things like these, and make it like vogue for women's health so that there's more awareness of what's going on. We also have 30,000 members across all our channels now, which is very exciting. The space has grown a lot. And we've funded 3 IP NFTs, of which 2 have been tokenized into IPTs. I'll explain that shortly. And we've also had 10 student fellowships with 4 tokens launched to support our work, and that's been very fun. So next slide. So one of the most common ways that we fund our assets is by and keep them under our name is through our IP NFTs. These are sponsored research agreements that are essentially just put on chain. And so they're advantageous because they provide this secure and immutable proof of ownership for IP on chain. So this ensures that the details of the ownership are unique, transparent, and they're tamper-proof. And this is what enables our researchers to assert their own ownership, also further raise funds and monetize the IP that is spinning out of these assets, because a lot of times that is a lot more challenging to do. And so we currently have 3 IP NFTs of which 2 have their own IPTs, so they've been tokenized. These are all in reproductive longevity or ovarian aging. And so we have Mario, who's looking at a specific pathway. He's actually 6 months ahead of time in what he is doing. And so that's really exciting to see. Dr. Joshua Johnson, who I mentioned before, is looking at another pathway, looking at ovarian follicle survival and growth. And he's also doing very interesting work and has done some very transformative papers for the space. And we also have a project with Jiro, which we're using AI to identify novel targets to delay ovarian aging from these giant data sets. And that one is our newest, and we're very excited about it because all of these IP NFTs have very high translational potential, and that is what we're interested in. So next slide. So we've also funded 3 preprints. They were all done around like menstrual cycle and hormones in women's health. And so the researchers are from University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, University of California, Santa Barbara, and Cornell. And they're all looking at different things with women's health and hormones. And we just funded these preprints collaboratively on another decentralized science platform. And it was really interesting to see how we can merge these 2 ideas together to help support women's health. So that was very cool. Next slide.
It's not working.
If we can move to the next slide, though. Thank you. So these are our Student Leader Awards. We gave a scholarship to people working on women's health research that were students. They all work at very interesting labs that are doing very cool things in various areas of women's health, including like ovarian aging, gynecologic oncology, things like this. And I expect that we'll see some great things coming out of these students soon. And so it's just really exciting to support these young innovators in the area. And so those are our Student Leader Awards. Moving on, we can, next slide, we've got over this one. If we could skip to, thank you. So now I'll talk about our initiatives. And so, of course, one arm is, our main focus is science first, but we also want to make science and research accessible to women. And we've done this in a variety of ways. So the first one that I talked about briefly, if you could move to the next slide, was our reproductive health reports. And so, like I said, we do this with every cohort, except for the most recent cohort that we did this for, which is ReproTech. We did do a physical zine, which is really cool. So that's a collectible item. But the first one, you can scan the QR code if you want to see, or just go to AthenaDAO.co and go to the reproductive health report section on the website. But we've made these essentially Vogue style, very consumer-friendly magazines that talk about ovarian aging, PCOS and endometriosis, and gynecologic cancers. And so this has made a lot of the, when you hear about these long not buzzwords, but these scientific terminologies, for a lot of women it may be jarring. And so we wanted to make that state of women's health more accessible to the average woman who may be struggling with these issues. And so we put together these reproductive health reports. They're very informative. I am so excited that we were able to do it in this way, and they're very interesting to read. So I would very much recommend checking them out. Next slide. We also had a pop-up in San Francisco, and so this was meant to be a test bed for consumer biotechnology. And so we worked with brands like OneSkin, Glycanage, and Oval, which all have arms in either longevity or women's health directly. For example, Oval does fertility testing through saliva, which is super cool and innovative. And so we were able to put these brands all in one spot and have different events with panels. For example, for one panel, we featured Dr. Jennifer Garrison, Dr. Berenice Benyun, and Dr. Lizelle La Follette, which are all powerhouses in women's health, specifically in reproductive longevity. And we were so excited that we even had the scheduling and timing to get them all in one room. So it was so crazy. And we had this test bed for consumer biotech. And we had people from all around San Francisco come by to check out what was going on. It was very educational, and we do plan on hosting another one sometime in the somewhat near future, because it was so valuable. So if you want to check out the highlights, you have the QR code, or it's all on our website as well. So next slide. Thank you. And so the most recent consumer experience that we had was about our first Fertility 101 course. And so being in the women's health space for 2 years, we've noticed like a lot of women come to us with concerns about their own fertility. And, you know, whether it's if you're in menopause, if you're looking at fertility preservation, there was just a lot of questions. And so we wanted the opportunity to uh, engage women more with this idea and have them be a little more informed. And so we talked to some lecturers from different institutions and had them feature in our course. We had our own content that was meant to be like an intro to fertility. Of course, this was not medical advice, but just a way to get women the tools they need to advocate for themselves at the doctor's office so they know a little more when they talk about their own concerns. And the feedback we had from this was amazing. We do plan on running a season 2 somewhat soon, but it's probably going to be more specific about, for example, specific conditions and how fertility impacts that. But regardless, it's going to be really valuable, and we hope that we learned a lot from the first Fertility 101 course, and I think that season 2 will be very, very powerful as well. Next slide. So eventually the goal is to bridge the gap using this DeSci model between women's health and tokenization. So we talk about fertility acceleration all the time and how we can bring women's health on chain properly in order to ensure that it gets the full attention that it deserves, and we take advantage of the opportunity that it is. And so we want to bridge these gaps and take women's health to the next level, the level that it deserves, essentially. Next slide. So if you're interested, we have 2 QR codes here. We would love for you to join our community. The QR code, I believe, links to our Discord. And we have I believe there's almost 2.5 K, 2,500 people in there, all engaged in women's health, all interested in the mission, all impacted by a condition or the other, or they're just interested in the tokenization. So it's a really cool community to be in if you just want to chat women's health or even Web3, things like that. It's very diverse. And then we're also doing, I mentioned very briefly, but we are running a call for submissions in data and wearables. And so if you have any leads or any projects or things that you think could be cool in that space, feel free to scan the QR code and you'll be brought to our call for submissions form. But once again, if you want to get involved with us, when you join the Discord, there'll be a form to become a contributor or get engaged in another way, or just have the opportunity to chat. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we would love to have you guys all in our community. So thank you so much for having me, Ines and Maya.
Awesome, thank you so much. Even though we're already part of the AthenaDAO, it's always amazing to
Yes.
to re-listen to the reality that women health is at today, and we're super happy to have you here to also share this knowledge with everyone else. Hopefully the community will grow and we will have more, we will advance, we will take this further, especially that it's very necessary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, and it's very interesting to see what AthenaDAO has accomplished in this short time, and how it's really trying to bridge the gap, and we're very happy to be part of it.
Yes. Does anybody have any questions to Victoria while she's here? Whatever you have questions about AthenaDAO or women health in general, she's the expert here. She can answer you. You can write it in the chat as well if you are too shy to open the mic. You can write it in Japanese. All right, so I guess no questions, right? Okay, so we will start then talking about ParaMotion and the connection between women health and EDS. Elizabeth, do you need a moment to switch to other slides, or?
Yes, please.
All right,
Yeah.
take your time.
So now we'll talk about women's health and its relation to our main focus is like hypermobility spectrum and its comorbidities, and of course there are some repetition without information that Victoria already have said. So we will just repeat another time and put it more in our context.
Perfect.
So Lisbeth, when you're ready, just let us know.
I'm ready, thanks.
Perfect. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you. So here you can see like we're showing a blog on our website. So if you would like to see the blog, please go to paramotion.org and you can see all the information there, and this is our website. Let's start talking about this blog specifically we prepared for this event. So when we think about medicine and science, we like to believe it's all facts and logic, right? And it's neutral and that it treats everyone the same. But unfortunately, it doesn't, and as Victoria showed us already in the data. So for a long time, women have been left out of medical research, literally. So until the early 90s in the US, women weren't even included in most clinical trials. The idea was male bodies are close enough, same differences. But we know it's not the case, right? Like we have like different hormonal cycle, we have lots of differences, so we cannot assume that everything worked for male body would work for us as well. So women's body are not the same, and this assumption that led to a massive gaps in how we understand and we diagnose and even treat women health issues. Since assumption is wrong, everything comes after is wrong. So we're not developing the right treatment, not developing the right criteria to judge the disease, and so on. So let me give you some quick facts, just to show how wide the gap, the gap really is. So women make up half of the population, right? But in some big clinical trials, like for heart disease, only 1 out of 3 participants are women. And so we should be at least be half-half, since we are half the population. And women are also more likely to get misdiagnosed, especially during things like heart attack, just because their symptoms don't match the male. We only study the male. The symptoms for female are different, but so we cannot really recognize it because we haven't studied it. And women, like the leading cause, I think, for death in women after a certain age is heart attack, and mostly it's misdiagnosed because we don't know the criteria for diagnosis for women. We judge it as for the criteria for men, and it's completely different. And also, it takes around 7 to 10 years on average for women to get diagnosed. Imagine, with chronic conditions like fibromyalgia, endometriosis, or EDS, and those are diseases affect mostly women. Like mostly 70% of the patients are women. And even when women are included in research, their symptoms are often labeled as weird or unclear, or blamed on stress and excluded from the study. So there is bias in the way that we think, like systematic bias that really affect how we do research. And as Victoria already said, like about 10% of research funding from the NIH goes specifically for women's health. And in the private world, it's worse. Just 1 to 2% of healthcare investment is for products made for women. So on top of that, disease that mostly affect women, like as I said, fibromyalgia and endometriosis, get way less research funding than they should, based on how many people they impact. They impact so many people, but they get funding very minimum,
And even like the things that get funding, maybe you were gonna say it later, but the things that get funding is sometimes ridiculous when it comes to women's health. For example, endometriosis, instead of us going and funding endometriosis research, there was a study that is basically studying whether women with endometriosis are more attractive than women who do not have it. And that is a legit study. It has been funded, it has been researched, And we have the results. Yes, if you do have endometriosis based on breast size, and I don't know what other measurements they were taking.
Seriously, they took like a breast size and body shape, and came out to the conclusion that women with disease were more physically appealing
To men.
to men. Yeah.
And that doesn't matter. Like seriously, we don't that this doesn't matter. Why is this research being funded when you can actually fund the actual disease, and look for answers, look for cures, look for management tips, or like protocols that women can follow. So not only is there no funding, even this 10% that is being funded is not funded based on the best the best research. Is funded on sometimes random studies that don't take the field even further.
So we need really to change the assumptions, from the beginning, to fix the way we think in society about the gender gap, and then that will translate into research as well. So yeah, women are out here living with very real, very difficult symptoms, often for years, and they're being ignored, misdiagnosed, or told it's all in their heads. So the majority of people diagnosed with anxiety and depression are women, actually, and they're only symptoms, they're not causes, but nobody goes and check deeper on the causes of these symptoms. So it's much easier to label them hormonal as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk more like now about we gave some facts on general about the gender gap. Now if we talk about hypermobile EDS, or hypermobility spectrum, for the people who don't know what it is a connective tissue disorder that affects a lot of systems, because it's a defect in the collagen of the body, and the collagen exists everywhere in our body, so in our joint, digestion, blood vessels, nerve, you name it. So it's estimated that up to 90% of people with the HEDS are women, and this is the most neglected condition in the history of medicine. Like, it has been discovered in the 1900, and now we are like more than 100 years after, and we're still not understand it very well, and there's no cure, and like there's not even standardized test, and there's no treatment. It's like really random. So imagine, like, more than 100 years and we still know nothing, and we can interpret that because 90% of the patients are women. And also because the system has also some difficulties, since the complex condition, and the system like to really look at fragmented body, and this is a whole body condition where you can see symptoms in different steps. So also they get ignored because of that. And as we already know, like, EDS doesn't usually come by itself. We're lucky us, we have also the package of a lot of sorry. Sorry, just 1 minute. Can you hear me properly, or there is some noise in the voice, in the sound?
There's like a wind, so as if there's a fan or something.
Maybe it's my computer.
Maybe it's the computer then, because we're inside.
It's
There's no wind here.
I think it's overheating. My computer is overheating because I'm like restreaming on LinkedIn. Having so many things,
Now
and then
it's okay.
Okay.
Now it's okay.
Now it's
Okay, I
okay?
removed it because
Okay,
I removed
no.
it a bit away from your computer.
Yeah, maybe it's very
Yeah,
close to the
go-
mic.
go.
Yeah, get further away from each other.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that, guys. So let's continue. So as we said, ADS doesn't come by itself. We have a package that of comorbidities that come with, and as ADS, it's also impact mostly women. The first condition, it's POTS. We already have an episode about it. If you're interested in POTS, so please go and check that episode where we talked about. We dig deeper in it, and we give tips about management and all that. And but what is POTS? POTS is a nervous system condition that causes dizziness, racing heart, fatigue when standing, and you feel fainty when you stand. And about 80% of people with POTS are women. And a lot of them get misdiagnosed with anxiety. The second condition is mast cell activation syndrome. This one causes allergic type reactions, rashes, headaches, gut issues, and like so much more. We also have an episode about it. We already done it. So please, if you're interested, go and check that out. And it's super common for people with EDS, but still not recognized in a lot of medical spaces. So it exists in research, but like it takes so much time for research to get adopted into clinical practices. So it's very hard to find a doctor that is familiar with this or like do the test for that, because the conditions that we're talking about, they don't show in traditional blood tests. So we don't have the tool for screening for them yet either. And also we have like GI issues like acid reflux, IBS, gastroparesis, and about 3 out of 4 people with EDS have GI problems. And they're often misdiagnosed by also, you're stressed. Fibromyalgia, we already talked about it, and chronic fatigue syndrome as well. They're comorbidity for EDS and impact mostly women. And the big issue here is that these conditions are connected. They're not separated. But medicine treats them like they're totally separate. So people end up seeing many different specialists who don't talk to each other. And no one's connecting the dots that all this linked to the connective tissue, linked to the same problem, Because how lucky one can be to have problem with every system, instead of thinking that, oh, there's maybe one reason behind all this these problems. Yeah. So yeah, as we said, like we have main problems here. All that means that people living with these conditions, mostly women, have to become their own researchers, their own advocate, and sometimes even their own doctors, just to get basic care. And that's actually why we did ParaMotion, and that's why, because we weren't believed, we were ignored, we were gaslit by medical system, and we went by ourselves trying to research and understand our conditions ourselves, and for 10 years. And now we share the information that we found, and that really helped us to come over this. And Ines, do you want to share?
You still have, or should I?
No, you can take it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Maya. That was really good. I'll take it from here. So, like Maya said, when we talk about EDS, we both have EDS, and we have POTS, and also mast cells. So this is not only a story, about someone out there in the world. I know some of you also have these conditions who are attending this event today. This is a very personal story. I know a lot of women are attending today, so I think a lot of people can resonate with this. So I will share also a bit of personal stories. Like, it took me around 20 years to get my diagnosis for EDS, and I've been having issues since I was born, because it's a genetic condition, so you're born with it. And during that time, I was called like anxious, depressed, and I was actually prescribed antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, but they only made it much, much worse. Like, I was flaring more, I was having more POTS, my mast cells were going crazy. So I felt much worse, and the doctor is like, oh, if you're feeling much worse, it's because your trauma is so deep that now it's coming out, and that's why you feel worse. And I'm like, but isn't it supposed to be helping? Like, am I not supposed to be feeling better, because like we're always like, thought of women whenever we have any type of issue is that, oh, you're anxious, oh, you're stressed, and then even they put you on this anti-anxiety, antidepressant medication. But the problem is that in some cases, when it's the wrong diagnosis, when it's the right diagnosis, sure, do it. Like, if that's the case, do it. But and if it's helpful, keep doing it. But in the cases where it's a wrong diagnosis and people are not looking at you as a whole, they're looking only about like, oh, you're just not feeling well, or you're stressed, or you're like this, but they're not looking at like the GI symptoms, the pain in your muscles, the pain in your joints, the burnout, the frequent burnouts, like the that you're just not functioning on a level that like is normal and that should be taken seriously. And even sometimes like with scans, because I had like really bad pain in my back, and they like had an MRI scan, and they said there's nothing, you're normal, the pain is in your head. And I'm like, okay. And then I have to go to school, I have to, you know, go to college, I have to sit in exams for 5 hours, and it was hell. It was hell on earth. I have no idea when I look back, like, how did I graduate any of this? How did I do any of what I did? And obviously it was costly, because I did burn out quite often, and I was blaming myself, and it did eventually become even worse mentally, because there was no answer, and like it just made me even more anxious. When they tell you you're anxious, you get even more anxious, you know. It's not like helpful.
And when you don't have answer or diagnosis, you always like think like, what's wrong with me? Why I can't be normal?
Yeah.
And people tell you like it's like it's not a choice. You feel like it's a choice for you. They make you feel it, but it's not a choice.
Yes, exactly. So even one study found that like women in emergency rooms were with the abdominal pain, they wait 33% longer than men for pain medications. And so like it doesn't even like the bias starts even before you come in and see the doctor. The bias starts from the waiting room. The bias starts from like making that phone call to the nurse to book you an appointment. Like the bias starts like way before you actually meet the doctor, and continues all the way through the system. And that's really insane. And when it comes like to EDS, you know, and hypermobility conditions, even ADHD, autism, all of these things, like it's much like men get those diagnoses faster, but even for everyone it takes a long time. But men do get those diagnoses faster, and those symptoms taken more seriously. Whereas for women, we have to struggle even harder, and the symptoms have to become more severe for the medical system to take us seriously. In my case, I had to go to rehab. I think I told you guys before, for when I was like in my early 20s, for a few months. And that was the first time when like I had a team of doctors look at me, and they're like, okay, she's not operating like a young, you know, a young girl. There must be something, you know, really wrong, not just like mentally. And then I got the diagnosis finally, and it was actually a genetic disorder. And then my whole life made sense in that point. It was like, oh my God, okay, so it's not me doing this to myself, you know, and it's actually real. But then it was this, so it goes from like medical gaslighting to medical abandonment. Like, okay, what happened? What was that?
I don't know. From that.
Okay. I heard like boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a
Champagne?
champagne popping attachment. It's nothing. It's
Oh
a
my God, that kind of
champagne
scared
popping
me.
attachment. I assume it's
You guys
ruthless.
opening champagne? Okay, awesome. All right. But yeah, so like I was saying, like we do, when you get the diagnosis, it's not like, oh, now, okay, now you know why you're struggling so hard, and it's not a mental condition. And then you don't take maybe the wrong medications. But then you have the other side of the story, is that there's no research in this condition, there's no cure, nobody knows about it, and there isn't much you can do to manage it and like live a better life from there. So then you feel like complete abandonment. And that's also why we started ParaMotion, because we didn't accept that. We wanted to do our own research and find management solutions, and create those programs for people like us, to improve. And we have improved a lot in the past 10 years, so thankfully to all of the research that we managed to study. But we are scientists, we have the capacity, and we like really put in a lot of effort, and we're two people. Not everybody will have the same opportunity, so that's why we also wanted to provide that. And we think actually DeSci is a great addition to this movement, the ParaMotion movement, because we think it's now early. I think in DeSci it's like 2021 it started, in the Web3 space. And it's basically a community-driven model like AthenaDAO, where you fund and coordinate scientific research, so that you can bring light into the hidden, or like usually under research areas. And the DAO usually functions, I think most of you guys are familiar with decentralized autonomous organizations, but they function, as a community with the funding and tokens and stuff like that, so that you have really like an open source, transparent way of funding research, and also patient-led, so that patients can also be involved in this, and then you can accelerate all this process so that you can get to a solution and a cure even in the future, when it comes to these kind of conditions. So that's why at ParaMotion now we are moving also. So ParaMotion is focused on management and education, so what you can do right now, but we also want to be part of the research and finding cure and even drugs designed for EDS. There's no drug out there right now that is designed specifically for people like us. So any type of research, any type of development in that space is a huge deal, since it's so neglected and so underfunded and under-researched. So we could actually start an EDS DAO in the future as the community grows, where we actually raise funds and at the same time we can fund this research and hopefully maybe get closer to a cure, and we can onboard everybody in our community from ParaMotion, everybody who wants to participate in the research or the DAO. So please stay tuned to this launch. It will happen, I think, soon. So it's working in the background, but we're super excited to also participate in those things, and even collaborate with AthenaDAO. There's EDS Society as well, which is not Web 2, but still it's something we can. It's an organization we can collaborate with. Curotopia, Microbiome DAO, all of these DAOs that are actually working in DeSci and in funding research. So yeah, let's build the future together. Where women health is seen as essential. It's not a niche. We are not a niche. We are not subhuman or category 2. We are like as human as it can be.
And we are half the population.
We are half the population. Like seriously, like you cannot just ignore half of the population. That's not, it's not okay. And we bring life, to this world. So our health, I think, matters. And EDS as well as comorbidities, we need earlier diagnostics, and we need better treatment options and programs. And we need to also include the voices of the patients. Usually the patient, because of their personal experience, knows a lot more than a lot of doctors, because not a lot of doctors know about these rare diseases and these chronic conditions. So in some cases, patients do know best, and we need to listen to them and include their voices in our communities and even in our research and in our development. So it's a community-driven science that can create a different standard, where we can actually accelerate and bring those things forward. So we're very excited that you guys joined us today. You can find this blog on our website. I will look here if you guys have... Let's see. Josh is saying, would love to lend some assistance to DeSci or your DAO if the need arises. That's awesome, Josh. I will definitely reach out to you when we start launching. We will need help. All the help we need, we can get, we will need. So that's... can we put up the AthenaDAO QR code for women health? Yes, I will put it up. Awesome. My pleasure. Thanks, Josh. Perfect. Okay, so now if anybody has any questions before we move on to the game with Lisbeth, for us or AthenaDAO. I think AthenaDAO people are still here.
And also we can answer. We are part of
We are part of AthenaDAO, so. Linda, you want to say something?
Yes, I just want to say something as someone who's been attending your 2 weekly sessions. And I totally hear the point, and I think it's valuable to consider who you're speaking to and what the context is. But I think the way that you've adopted the metaverse to spread information about this condition is amazing. And I don't feel at all that you've only spoken about the condition and that you don't speak about solutions. I think the first thing that you're tackling is the awareness, and there's an incredible unawareness about EDS and all the comorbidities. And I really commend you on the way you're going about using the metaverse to spread the message.
Thank you, Linda. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I do feel like we have built a strong community here. I know a lot of us, we spoke internally about like a lot of us, a lot of people came to the events and they didn't know what EDS was, and then they're like, oh my God, I have this condition. I can relate to everything you have been through. So it becomes like more personal because you're sharing your personal experience, and then people, wow, this happened exactly the same to me. So I'm not alone, and then you can feel that kind of sense of community and bond in a way that
the
is
most
not just
important
like,
thing for us maybe like for people to feel seen.
yeah,
And sometimes like we're not aware
Yes.
of all those things. So
yeah,
first of all, like you're seen, we acknowledge your struggle, you're not the only one, and we support it with facts as well. And for other events, not only specifically this, for the other event, we always highlight a problem and we give a management strategy.
yeah,
So we always share all solutions, and
Yeah.
we try to have a discussion and communicate with our communities and try to help each other. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, Linda, for being here, for supporting us first.
Yeah, from the beginning,
From the
Linda.
beginning.
That's awesome. Yeah, you were here from the beginning. That's the best thing, to see that the community grows and people come back. Yeah, so this is a different type of episode. Usually we do like, for example, we talk about tackle a specific condition. For example, we talked about EDS a little bit more in details about like movement and stuff, and then we offered solutions about that. And then we have the ADHD episode where we talked a little bit what it is, and then we also offered solutions there, what you can do right now. So that's usually the format when it's just ParaMotion presenting. But when we have guests over, we try to kind of have it in the same theme as the guests. So when AthenaDAO was talking about women health, we wanted to also bring awareness that like a lot of women have these conditions, not only women obviously, but like a lot of women do have them, and how that layers up, towards obviously everybody gets gaslit, but it's different type of gaslighting because it's ADS is unique, and it has a kind of an experience because it's so chronic and it's so long, and it has the other comorbidities, like ADHD, autism, MCAS, POTS. So this becomes like a whole very unique kind of experience that a lot of people can relate to. And that's why we try to, in these, like last time when we had microbiome, we talked about how EDS affects the microbiome exactly, and we also gave our thoughts on management and tips how you can manage your microbiome better. So obviously everybody has microbiome problems, but in EDS also it's a bit unique to our tissue. Our cells are a bit different, our chemicals in the body. So there are lots of things we can learn from those discussions. So super happy to have everybody here. Lisbeth, if nobody has any more questions or comments, we can maybe move on to the
I just wanted to say,
yeah, of course.
For me, like my experience with running a national autism non-profit organization in South Africa and fighting for human rights and things here, it's the same issue where the women don't get as easily diagnosed. But in general, for me, the way to get people on board is to facilitate understanding and to experience themselves what you might have been experiencing. So for me, who also has MCAS, I found it really helpful that, like you said, to be seen, all the things that you're talking about is what I've gone through my entire life. I mean, a few weeks ago, I had my gallbladder removed, and I can't tell you how many times I was told, just take something for anxiety. I'm like, I'm dying of pain here. So I think understanding is in my work as well, where we've helped people to understand what it's really like to be autistic. And that's how we got funding. That's how we changed national policies, actually. So yeah, for me, it's the most important part. And I think the metaverse as a whole, virtual digital world, it creates such a huge opportunity to experience that, There's simulations where you can go in and see what people cognitively. I think without understanding, it's really going to limit even investment. there's one autistic boy who didn't speak for many, many years, and when he was 17, his father, who happened to be a billionaire, came across the treatment method, well, not really treatment, more communication method. And once he sat and did it with his son and experienced it all, he invested largely in the States, where it's now almost in every second classroom, whereas before it was not even allowed. So I think, yeah, the understanding for me is the huge part. The understanding and the feeling seen. So
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, and
thank you for that.
Thank you, thank you. We really appreciate it. I think just being able to share personal stories, because even investors could also have the personal story themselves or their families, so they can also feel motivated. I think it's in the VC world in general, like when you come from that background, you're always thinking financial and opportunity, and just mention like one or two slides about the problem. But I noticed like when you're trying to build a community, it's a completely different type of approach, because like you want to really make the problem very understood and very deeply understood, and the more the problem is understood, the more people will connect with you and connect then with the solutions that you're offering, because they will understand you understand the problem more than somebody else who's talking about it. You know, if you just say ADS is a chronic condition and it affects this and this, and then you're just jumping into solutions, like people is like, okay, but like I don't feel like your understanding to this condition is deep enough for me to trust what you are saying. And there are so many things of what we do say in these sessions that actually you don't hear anywhere else, because they're really based on like experience, like personal experience, and like years and years of like collecting data and analyzing it. So that's yeah.
For me personally, for example, I didn't know any of the information that we talked about today before I read a book called The Invisible Woman, which I highly recommend if people would like to know more about
Oh yeah, love that
the
book.
data biases in the world, especially regarding women, not only women health, women in general. So I highly recommend it for you guys to read if you need to know more about the topic.
Yeah. All right, let's go play the game before people.
Yeah, it's related to the topic, so let's go play a game to understand it more.
Let's do it. And then I will have a song
Okay.
for women's health.
I just need to.
Inspired by women health that we will play.
I just need to delete this. Okay, there we go. I'll move you there. Give me a sec. It's huge.
All right. Yeah, it's a huge island. So we're gonna move now to a different beach area, where Elizabeth has prepared a interactive game for us to understand the woman, struggle in the society and how we go to clinics and stuff. But won't say too much.
No, let it.
Don't say much.
Okay, so here are the instructions in English and in Japanese. Okay, so there's two roads, and the game is prepared in accordance with the theme. I'm not a feminist or anything like that. It's just to go according to the statistics of how much more women are neglected in women's health. And it's not a race that we're doing, but neglected in health, I mean. So you choose whether you want to walk first as a man or as a woman, and you can walk both paths. And you're just going along a journey, and you're not feeling well along your journey, so you have to go and stop at the clinic in each little spot. So there's no running allowed. You only need to walk, and you have to enter the clinic. So you can check the Japanese instructions here, and then just to summarize what it means to be gaslit by the medical system, if you didn't know that. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where a person's experiences, symptoms, or emotions are dismissed, minimized, or invalidated, causing them to doubt their own reality. So in the medical system, it happens where a patient describes real symptoms and the doctor will imply something like, it's all in your head. And then objective tests come back normal and healthcare even stops, but the pain continues. So the person is treated as emotional or dramatic instead of being listened to with curiosity and respect. So this game is just to help understand what it's like for women who are being gaslit in the medical system. So you can start and you walk the whole road, either as a man or as a woman. You can choose which one, and I recommend doing both.
Mm-hmm.
So, and stop at the clinics along the way.
So the right one is the women one, and the left one is the.
Yeah, it's certain from the
Okay,
beginning.
so I'm
Yeah, perfect.
walking the male path. I went
Perfect.
into the clinic. I got help, some medicine. I'm feeling okay. Oh, not feeling well again. Going to the clinic, back onto the road. Ines, no running, only
no.
No
walking.
jumping either.
Okay,
Oh.
it's so slow.
It's very nice with the Easter egg as an avatar.
Michio is saying if this is the case even in America, I worry that it may be even worse in Japan.
Yeah, it's a global issue, unfortunately. So
So as women, our speed of walking is being slowed down.
yes,
We can't get ahead.
exactly.
So you have to go in at all the clinics. Make sure you go in.
Yeah, the woman moving so slow, it feels so real.
And I'm enjoying all the
So-
speech bubbles.
For example, you might go into the clinic and you get given the wrong medication. So that would first give you a shock. Nobody believes you, freeze you up, and then afterwards you're walking a lot slower. Getting to your destination is a lot harder. And all you actually just want to do is walk along your journey, be healthy, And then when you get to the end, where you almost where your care stops, you sit down and reflect. You'll see when you get there, and all those things that you've been told over the years kind of resonate over and over again in your head.
It's
Interesting question, Josh.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of misogyny and the fact that like women bodies are much more complex because of the hormonal
Cycle.
and the cycle part. And when you're studying something, you obviously want to study something that doesn't have so many variables. So it's more simple to study the male body, and so it's a mix of misogyny, and at the same time it's also that simplifying, but we could start, for example, with a male study, but then you need to expand it into obviously women studies as well. It's not like we can take it that it's a standard.
Yeah, it's like it starts with the assumption that the male body is the standard,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's not. So whenever you have a system, you need to question your assumptions, right?
Yeah.
iClip is asking, is there really such a difference between men and women? If you can answer in the chat.
Yeah, it's very different because we have the hormone, like, so for hormones, right? We have more estrogen. Like the ratio also of hormones is very different. We have conditions, for example, male body doesn't have like endometriosis, PCOS. Like we have conditions in our ovaries, in our fertility, that men don't have. And at the same time, even when you talk a little bit about conditions that both women and men have, for example, EDS, or even ADHD, for example, you're talking about a condition that affects both, but
The symptoms are completely different.
very different. Because for example, ADHD women are masking much more than men, so they might be like more socially looking normal, but they have other symptoms, like for example the burnouts is more because they're masking more, and then they're like having more symptoms in a way that like males, it's much easier to see it on them than it's easy to see on women. and at the same time, you have for EDS, because of the estrogen level, it affects histamine directly, for example, because the more histamine you have in the body, the more estrogen your body has, and the more estrogen your body has, you have more histamine, and the histamine leads directly to actually having more allergic reactions and flaring in your body. So it creates worse joint pain, worse stability, the tissue is not as good. So yeah, there are so many differences. I mean, I can talk about this forever because I love to discuss those things. And male body is being studied, so those differences are clear when you look at the male body, but it's not clear as when you look at the woman body as much, because it's not as well studied. So that's the problem.
Yeah, and also recently we were like talking about even the hormone impact on male and female, also testosterone. Like for example, we always like think about women are estrogen and progesterone, and nobody study the depth of the role of testosterone on women bodies, and it has a huge one as well, and especially for us with EDS. But like there's no study about it. When you ask what's the role of testosterone about with all these conditions, they tell you nobody studied it because they think testosterone only linked to male body and doesn't impact any woman.
Yeah, there's no study. Imagine, like low testosterone in women has such huge impact, and nobody studies it because testosterone only for men. All the studies only for men. So, and that's sad. You know, that's sad. Even men have estrogen as well, or not so much.
Actually, I don't know.
Yes.
They do.
But
They must, right?
They do.
yeah. So you see, we had to stop. Yes, a fully grown male usually has levels of estrogen 10 to 50. So nobody, for example, men also, they wouldn't get estrogen studies as much as women does, you know.
Yeah.
So we need a little bit more, like, to be more diverse in our studies and more inclusive in general.
So now I finished the side for women, so we can go back to the beginning and go to the main side of the
Yes.
game. So are you gonna take us all together, or?
I've done the male actually as well, no? But I didn't see
I did
anything.
the male quick.
But I didn't see anything written
I was
on the male one.
saying you can do, you can do both sides if you want to, and the other walk will be quick. It was more just to experience. For me, the challenge is when you eventually stop and you give up and all these things just ring over in your head, you know, all the comments that you've been told. It really is gaslighting because you start to question your own sanity at one point, you know.
Exactly.
Is this really anxiety? And oh no, wait, it was 1,000 gallstones or something like that, you know. So
yeah.
Yeah, Linda
okay,
was,
so I think
Linda was saying there is no.
everybody's done.
No, there's nothing.
Yeah. So you don't
Yeah.
need explanation, as you said. Like Linda was saying, there is no like text bubble for the male, because we're assuming they get the diagnosis there properly. They get taken seriously.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's go now and listen to the song. What do you say? If you guys are ready.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so for people that are new to dance, you can walk on any of the dance plates close to the stage. You can also click on one of the four little people in the click to dance button, and then there's hotkeys on your keyboard, and when you click the hotkey you will dance. To stop dancing you can just press any other emote like C for clap or Y for yes. It will stop. So the hotkeys are on the left where the spinning island guy is. So those are the keys to dance various dances.
Awesome. All right. So I'll play the song. You guys are going to be the first ones that hear the entire song. I did a teasing video for it. I'll write the lyrics of the song now in the chat if you guys want to read it. Message not sent because it's too long. But I can cut it into.
But it's also on the clip. It's
okay.
written, yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, let's go and tell me what you guys think. I hope you like this song.
Since forever, honestly. But every time I say something, they tell me it's anxiety. Fainted in the hallway, said I skipped a meal. Put me on some meds that made it worse, but still, you're just stressed. Just try and rest, like rest cures whatever this is. I'm not crazy, I'm not lazy. I'm in pain and you just don't see it. I bring life but feel half alive. When do I get to be treated right? Too young to know, too old to change, too sensitive, too much to explain. They look at my weight, not my blood. Ask about my mood, not what hurts. Like I haven't been tracking every weird symptom just to be told it's all in your head again. I'm not crazy, I'm not lazy. I'm in pain and you just don't see it. I bring life but feel half alive. When do I get to be treated right? I'm not looking for attention, I'm looking for answers. I know my body even if you don't. I'm not crazy, I'm not lazy. I'm in pain, and you just don't see it. I bring life, but feel half alive. When do I get to be treated right? I'm not looking for attention, I'm looking for answers. I know my body, even if you don't. I exist, I deserve care. That's not asking for too much, is it? I've been feeling off since forever,
Josh, this is
honestly.
great. I love it. What?
But every time I say something, they tell me it's anxiety.
All right, let me know what you guys think. I think a lot of you maybe have had those feelings. Josh, it's great, love it. Elizabeth, me too, love it. Please also play the zebra one from the last session. Okay, I'll play the zebra one. Thank you, everyone. Oh, I'm glad so many people liked it. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you.
And the meta coach also saying like today's presentation was very informative and so well done. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, coach.
Thank you, coach, for your support always.
Yes, #1 supporter. Awesome. Okay, I'll play. I had the zebra. I'll continue playing this till I find the. You want to say something, coach? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just thinking about what you all were showing, and it's just it's just sad, but very informative that there's so much gaslighting and so much misinformation. I don't know what happened to me. I got kicked way out to some island somewhere, so I don't know where you guys are at.
Oh.
So I'm up on some mountaintop, so I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, but this information needs to get out there, and it's just so important because I know so many women right now who are dealing with this very same thing, and the gaslighting, the misinformation, and not being able to get the help that they need. So my hat is off to you all, and anything I can do to support what you all do, I'm there for you.
Thank you, coach. That's so sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
We definitely want everybody who's here on the call to be part of the DAO. Like, that would be so awesome. Imagine we're all in a DAO, we're raising funds together, we're collaborating, like taking this even more real, and it becomes like it becomes like an amazing experience. Like, we're not just sitting in the metaverse talking about it, we're actually doing something about it, and that would be so awesome. So thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate everyone. This community is becoming stronger with every event. I can feel it. So we really appreciate everyone who comes here and join us and just shares their personal stories, and and their feedback.
Yeah, and what's really important for us and for everyone, like we wanted a space where we feel safe to share our experiences, right, and our struggles, and to feel seen and to feel supported and ask for help. If so, we really wish that we're managing to provide this for you, because it is for us. And if you have anything you would like to share with us, or any topic you would like to know more about, please just reach to us, and we're happy to help.
Awesome. Great points, coach. Totally agree. All right. You want to say anything else, coach, or we play the song?
Play the song.
All right. Let's go. I'll play this while I find the other one that requested.
Fainted in the hallway, said I skipped a meal. Put me on some meds that made it worse, but still, you're just stressed. Just try and rest, like rest cures whatever this is. I'm not crazy, I'm not lazy. I'm in pain and you just don't see it. I bring life but feel half alive. When do I get to be treated right? Too young to know, too old to change, too sensitive, too much to explain. They look at my weight, not my blood. Ask about my mood, not what hurts. Like I haven't been tracking every weird symptom just to be told it's all in your head again. I'm not crazy, I'm not lazy. I'm in pain and you just don't see it. I bring life but feel half alive. When do I get to be treated right? I'm not looking for attention, I'm looking for answers. I know my body even if you don't. I'm not crazy, I'm not lazy. I'm in pain and you just don't see it. I bring life but feel half alive. When do I get to be treated right? I'm not looking for attention, I'm looking for answers. I know my body, even if you don't. I exist, I deserve care. That's not asking for too much, is it? I've been Skin is fragile.
What a nice
Skin
note,
is
it's like so
see-through.
nice.
You can see my veins, blue like the ocean haze. My wounds are slow at healing. My body is aching, longing to disappear. They tell me it's in my head, that I am crazy. I know it is not true, the doctors are hazy. They think they hear a horse, but I'm a zebra in a herd of horses. Zebra, zebra, zebra in a herd of horses. Science do not care, 'cause money isn't there. But our bodies are breaking. We bend and we break every day, waiting for a flicker of hope. When are you gonna realize it's not in our heads, it's in ourselves? Before you judge us, check you have what it takes to understand our pain, to see our stripes. They tell me it's in my head, that I am crazy. I know it is not true. The doctors are hazy. They think they hear a horse, but I'm a zebra in a herd of horses. Zebra, zebra, zebra in a herd of horses.
آخر إيفنت معنا أثينا
Zebra, zebra, zebra in a herd of horses.
I don't even want her to meet Lara anymore.
Zebra, zebra, zebra in a herd of horses.
You mean he joined AthenaDAO?
Yeah.
Zebra, zebra, zebra in a herd of horses.
But hey, advice for you. Nobody cares about you and your condition. Talk about the opportunity and how excited you are. Don't talk about your issues. Nobody cares about you.
Science do not care,
And
cause
playing the
money
victim. We are playing the
isn't
victim.
there. But our bodies are breaking. We bend and we break every day.
But then she left because she didn't play the game. She didn't like it because it's about the problem.
Yeah.
When are you going to realize it's not in our heads, it's in ourselves? Before you judge us, check you have what it takes to understand our pain, to see our stripes.
شفتي ما أفشل البرزنتيشن
ما
طبعا.
حدا
They
engaged.
tell
ما
me
حدا
it's
engaged
in
in this
my
content.
head,
It's about just show off, show
that
off.
I'm crazy. I know it is not true. The doctors are hazy. They think they hear a horse, but I'm a zebra in a herd of horses. Zebra, zebra, zebra in a herd of horses. They tell me it's in my head, that I am crazy. I know it is not true. The doctors are hazy. They think they hear a horse, but I'm a zebra in a herd of horses. Zebra, zebra, zebra in a herd of horses.
حتى
Zebra,
if she really
zebra,
cared, she could have
zebra
said
in
it
a
like
herd of horses.
later,
Yeah.
not like this.
Well, like just I'm saying here because like like it's just a small, such a small community. أنا أعتقد إنه ما في حدا غريب من small community.
Zebra,
She
zebra,
undermine
zebra
our
in a
community as well.
herd of horses.
So all right, thank you so much for coming, everyone. This was an awesome event. Please stay tuned to our next event. Yeah, we're actually trying to now
Have a
focus.
great day.
Have a great day. We're trying now to focus on like creating more material, more courses, and creating more of the programs on our website. So we're gonna spend a bit of time doing that, and then we're gonna have a launch party soon as well. So stay tuned for that. A lot of exciting things coming.
Exactly.
Sounds good. Sounds real good.
Yes. So if nobody have any
Thanks,
questions.
everybody. Thanks, Ines and Maya, for what you guys are doing.
Thank you,
Thank you, Lisbeth, so much for your help
Really appreciate it.
support.
and
Thank you.
support. And thank you
You're
everybody for
welcome.
coming. We really appreciate your
All right,
support.
you all have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone, and see you soon.
Josh, thank you, ladies. Great event once again. Thank you all for thanks
And
for-
good night for people in Japan. Have nice good dreams.
Thank you, Cyrus. Good night. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Great job.
Thank you so much.